Again, this is one of the last videos for sure. I keep playing closing time or posting something um, just because I love the song. Too many times when I was in the Navy or even contracting with the Army, or I was at U of M Flint or down in Ann Arbor. I lived in Ann Arbor, but when I lived in Ann Arbor, I didn't go to Ann Arbor. When I went to Ann Arbor, I was in Flint. Anyway, I heard that song a lot of great times. So trying to, end this with a positive note. This channel. I know that I've calculated the TDIU that I'm owed. If that was pushed through, and I'm not sure. It could be anywhere from 20 to 200,000. But it's already been sabotaged. I was told that my unemployability letter was uploaded, but I looked at my blue button. Somebody accessed it this morning because I get an email every time somebody accesses my dashboard. The unemployability letter is not there. Matter of fact, I haven't had any additions to my blue button, case histories, or lab tests since last week. Case summaries, not case histories. And since I'm flagged, they're supposed to be posting everything. And like I said, one of the deficiencies with the Saginaw VA, with I don't know if it's every provider. I've only had 3. No, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 actually. If you 6, 6 if you include visits to urgent care, and no, actually 7. And out of those people who post stuff to ChartScribe, see the problem with ChartScribe is it's even before VA legacy software, and there's only a few people that have access, and one of them is not VBA, not CompetPen, and even the primary care providers, only certain ones have login credentials. It's the software that it screws veterans over, because when people put medical records like pathology reports, blood tests, specialist reports, MRI findings, etc., when they put it in ChartScribe, most people can't see it. One is the veteran. Veteran can't get it. VBA can't get it. And only a few providers have login credentials at the Saginaw VA. Only a few people can get access. All it does is it screws veterans over. But they're still using it. I've seen some providers there that, like I said, I'm just going to try to keep getting my medicine, until whatever is wrong with me, puts me to rest. I'm tired of people screwing with my family, so now I have to think of, what I could do to protect my daughter that's here. And the real criminal thing about it, it's not the fact that I can't support all my kids like I should be, like, people have made comments. It's the fact that because what Saginaw has done to me, these dozens of people that keep screwing with me and my kids, is the fact that I can't get back there to make sure that my daughters that are overseas that haven't gotten their passports yet can get their citizenship and can get justice for what's happened to their family. That's the real crime. And I'm sick of people with their fake empathy. Oh, that's too bad. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people without empathy making fake statements like they do. When I worked at the call center, they harped on that for 2 weeks. But the good thing about them harping on that is I can start to see what kind of predators that I work next to. If people don't know how to be empathetic, there's something wrong with them. Trauma, or they're a damn sociopath, or they're at a minimum antisocial, like antisocial personality disorder, or a psychopath. It's, that being said, or somebody is very traumatized. Um, it's complicated, but I'm sick of people with their fake empathy. I'm very sick of that, especially concerning all the things that have happened to my daughters. Because people targeting me for whatever reason it is. Maybe before I'll die, I'll know exactly why. I know a couple. I ticked off and I confronted a very large, very powerful, very rich business that works with DOD, and some of the investors are a couple of billionaires. Um, that's one party. I have no doubt. And that being said, I'm just getting screwed over and everything with the VA. It's one thing after another. Come to find out, I've been underrated from the beginning when it comes to my. Um, Somebody admitted with the asthma, and so they upgraded the rating, but I never received any back pay. They went from 20 to 60 3 months later, never got the back pay. But somebody managed through Comp and Pen in Saginaw to receive a FedEx package that had all of my claims documents, everything, everything. And then they denied it was there. I know what I saw. And I made a PDF file, but if somebody hadn't hacked my damn device again, I would have evidence of that FedEx envelope that it was going to outside of Detroit. I think it was, I can't remember. It was one of the suburbs of Detroit. And I can't remember which suburb now, but it went to a residence. It went to somebody's residence. And it wasn't me. I don't live in the suburbs of Detroit. It was somebody using my name, and they received a package there. Could it be one of the criminals, in 4 or 5 states that have the same name as me? Perhaps. I know that's what some scumbags around Saginaw do. They steal somebody's identity and they use it for all kinds of bull crap, for all kinds of criminal behavior, while the person is in the hospital, or they're like financially imprisoned in a complex in a city that they can't leave because people keep targeting them, or somebody that is committed to the state. Yeah, then they use this, and their anti-Semitic crap is, well, the Israelis did it from time to time. It has nothing to do with Israel. It's just anti-Semitic bull crap. And that being said, I keep getting sabotaged no matter what I do. And I'm surrounded, the truth is coming out now. I'm surrounded by a lot of people that have a Becca management voucher. I mean, what the heck? I was told I'm the only person, the only vet. And apparently there's a lot of us in here. The apartment manager told me that. So then why are they ignoring everything that's happened to my daughter and I? Just ignoring it. The latest thing, my pet deposit was never forwarded on my dashboard when the new company took over. The old company, Premier Management, or Premier Property Management, or Premier 3, I don't know, they used all these interchangeably, even though legally they're different entities, which shows me there's a lot of shady stuff going on. When you're living somewhere, it doesn't matter if the company owns 5,000 other complexes and has 200 other daughter companies that own various properties. You can't interchange them. These are entirely different legal entities. That tells me that they're probably their books are not up to par either. Their books are probably very far from par. What's it called? Let's see, bogeying is over par. I forgot what it is when you're under par. I never learned to golf. Um, Seems fun. A great place to hang out and chit chat. The golf courses are always really nice. A great place to shoot the breeze, but I never had that opportunity. But yeah, so they never transferred that $750. It stayed with the old company. I brought it up to Becca. I brought it up to property management. Nobody will do anything. Um, the property ignores me, and Becca management says that has nothing to do with them. So, the plot thickets. They have a lot of people in here on their voucher program, and my family is being targeted the hell out of. Plot thickets. But my experience with Becca, there's only one person. Um, I'm not going to say his name, but only one person that actually got straight to the nuts and bolts and got something done and advocated for a tenant. One person. I don't know his exact position in the company, but only one person. But stuff, I'm sick of this stuff always happening to my family. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the. Oh, also another thing, you got to watch out for veterans. Watch for if you're going to some of these VAs that are known for bad care. One thing that I've experienced here is they will, I don't know what their game is, honestly, but they'll enter the diagnosis that you're given, and then they'll also enter the diagnosis that contradicts it. Like they'll put in there, they'll say diabetes type 2, and then later on there'll be another diagnosis that says hypoglycemic. You can't be both. If you have sugar crashes when you're a diabetic, that's called brittle diabetes. It's not hypoglycemia. These diagnostic codes, they matter. It matters with medication too. Very big difference between somebody who has type 2 diabetes and somebody that's hypoglycemic. If you're hypoglycemic and you take a shot of Humulin or Lantus, it will kill you. Big difference. And if you're type 2 diabetic and you eat a bunch of candy or fruit or drink some juice or some milk to spike your sugar, it's going to have effects on your kidneys, on your insulin, on your heart. It's going to affect a lot of stuff. But that being said, yeah, I'm just tired of being screwed over. People say, "Hey, why don't you do this?" Yeah, go ahead. Um, but nobody gives any advice or gives me, introduction or or anything. It's like, people encourage you just to get let down. I'm sick of it. Um, so now apparently the people organizing against me have got as far as Grand Rapids. And why is Grand Rapids and Detroit PR&E working together on my case? Makes no sense at all. But I repeatedly asked for a different counselor, and this alleged supervisor in Grand Rapids um, gave my counselor instructions how to handle stuff. do nothing but target me, nothing but screw me over. They refuse to write a new letter. My letter says nothing about TDIU. It says nothing about encouraging to file for 100% P&T. It says nothing. It just says I'm unemployable. And I haven't worked much the past few years. In my past couple of jobs I did have prior to 2020, which, when my house started to really decline in 2019. Then by 2020, by the end of 2020, I'd already had COVID once, and by the by the winter of 2022, I'd already had COVID 5 times. Because the VA places we were staying, the VA shelters, the contractor shelters, they weren't cleaning. That was one way, and the other was bus. People are always coughing on my daughter. Now, my daughter had COVID. As far as we could tell when we had tests, I used to stockpile them because we got COVID. I got it so many times. I would grab them everywhere I could. My daughter had COVID twice. Yeah, just watch out for those diagnoses because those could really screw you over. And also watch out for, the evidentiary support for your diagnoses. Doesn't matter what they put in there as far as your health conditions. If there's nothing to back it up, according to VBA, you're not sick. There has to be something to back it up. And like I said, what I'm seeing now is it's like some of my stuff is disappearing. So I don't mind the duplicates that you get at VA.gov when your VA is upgrading. You'll get, you may have duplicate records, blah blah blah. While we merge our system, blah blah blah. I don't mind duplicate records. My problem is that stuff is disappearing. And right now, when they're not going to do anything with TDIU anyway. I'm pretty sure about that now. Because the supervisor from Grand Rapids, her tone completely changed. And she tried to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you misunderstood me. Yeah, I didn't mean that." She's trying to backstep everything we talked about earlier this week for like a half an hour. She's trying to backstep all of it. Yeah. I think they're Trump supporters too. When I was talking about something, about Washington really being concerned about vets and people being genuinely concerned about vets and genuinely, giving us the care and support that we should have had the minute we signed our enlistment contracts, and how it doesn't happen. Um, and I was mentioning the PACT Act. That's the most comprehensive, good something that was done for us in about 20 years. It was a Democrat. And, and I mentioned how I don't like the current administration. They're doing all kinds of shell games with veterans benefits, taking this away, taking away significant, like tinnitus. That's a damaging thing, when you're going to the range and you're given, it all started because the Army, a couple of branches were giving out earplugs from 3M they were faulty, and people were getting their hearing damaged. Especially people, that are doing like sappers or EOD or like, regular infantry. I mean, people that they go to the range all the time, or people doing what do they call them? Artillery. These guys and gals were getting their ears messed up because that's how this whole thing started. And then it was so multi-service wide, that they started investigating and finding out that, tinnitus is more of a common problem amongst us than people realized. And so then they said, okay, let's look at the service rating schedule for this again. And then it became more common, especially after the PACT Act. Well, a lot of the PACT Act now, if you step back and look, hypertension is being rolled back. They plan to try to roll back tinnitus. Let's see what else. Gosh, I'm trying to think of all the stuff they're trying to roll back. There's several things they're trying to roll back and take it away from us. And it's a blessing that they're increasing, assistance, financial assistance for veterans catastrophically wounded. Yet, I don't think our brothers and sisters who are catastrophically wounded would agree that it's okay to take away a bunch of service conditions, to pay for the increase in their help, like aid and attendance. I don't think they would agree. I can say this, with pretty secure assurance that our brothers and sisters who are catastrophically wounded would not agree to this. Um, but they're doing stuff like that. Sleep apnea is going to go away. This is a serious condition for a lot of veterans because our training makes us soft sleepers, many of us. And then you add to that, people's experience when they're in combat or in training, and their experience, maybe losing friends and family, um, during a deployment, and then you add to stress, and you add to we have a lot of hypertension. Once this stuff starts piling up, these are all contributory factors for sleep apnea. All of them: high blood pressure, obesity, cardiovascular problems. Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think of all the stuff. Hypoglycemia, triglyceridemia, all of these contributing factors, and they want to take it away, saying if your CPAP helps you, you don't need to be compensated. The damage is still there. They're not approaching it like that. I don't like Republicans. I don't. I'm glad I left that party. It just disgusts me. You know, I used to be a Trump supporter. I'm not anymore, and I'll tell him to his face. He's letting his friends gut the VA, gut veterans benefits for what? So they can balance a budget. Basically, what they're saying is, who gives a crap if vets are starving, if they can't afford their meds, they can't afford their copays, they can't take care of their children? Who cares? The budget's balanced. And I guarantee you, they're going to get their COLA and their yearly pay raise. I guarantee that. And a lot of the people there now are taking full advantage of what they can, what profit and what agreements and what future contracts they can obtain from being in DC. It's a kind of self-service gluttony. But we're gonna reduce some veterans benefits. By God, the VA is gonna save some money. But we're gonna use more AI, and we're going to make claims process faster. That way, we can deny them quicker. But we're not going to cut the amount of veterans Board of Veterans Appeal law advocates. The judges. We're not going to cut those. No. God forbid we tick off some attorneys. Yeah. It's a horrible situation. I don't like the direction our country's going. And I certainly don't like what's happened to my family. So I will go offline and try to spend the time I can with my family. And I'll leave it at that. Um, I think the supporters out there, people who've left a positive, affirming, or inquisitive, or challenging comment. Um, and I hope that my videos have helped at least. I know they've helped a few before they put me in the simulator. Um, but But take care of your veterans and protect them. Because there's I would say, three groups of people. Yeah, my neighbors pounded on the wall. They're always troublemakers, pounding on the walls. I don't know if you can hear it. It's not a very good microphone anymore. But yeah, they pound on the wall. We're surrounded by a lot of troublemakers, a lot of them, for 10 years. And but take care of your veterans, because like I said, there's a few groups that in our country, a few groups or classes of people that repeatedly people will try to target them, a kind of predatory attitude, you know, single mothers, children, the elderly, and veterans, especially elder infirm veterans. They are targeted. I would say they're probably targeted more than single mothers. People always target older infirm vets, especially for anything financial they can get from us. And being said, I guess this is the last video. And protect your veteran, person. There's a lot of predators out there, a lot of providers that just go through the motions. They don't really care about vets. They don't read medical histories. Protect your veteran person. And don't just listen to the comments about the VA. There's some good people there. There is. But like I've said in other videos, they don't speak up because it's a retaliatory, toxic atmosphere. Always has been. And under this administration, as a former Trump supporter, I will say it's worse. And it's worse both ways. Our country is becoming toxic. And that being said, don't just take the word of the providers. Research. Make sure that your veteran person is getting the right care. And if they're dealing with VBA, make sure that their provider is documenting stuff correctly. Make sure that if there's retaliation, you know what they're doing so you can document it yourself and protect your veteran. And I guess that's about it. Be kind to each other and fight for your country and fight for your vet person. I wish you all the best. Bye. I will no longer be posting videos.